Your immune system is this incredible microscopic army inside you, fighting off invaders 24/7. But what happens when that army gets its signals crossed, when it starts attacking things it really shouldn't? Well, that's the immune system's version of friendly fire. And today, we're going to take a closer look at exactly how that happens. So think about it. Seasonal allergies, a nasty skin rash you got from some new jewelry, or even really complex autoimmune diseases. On the surface, they seem like they have nothing in common. But what if I told you they all come from the exact same root problem? That link, it's a concept called hypersensitivity. And it's pretty simple, really. It's when your immune system, trying to do its job, just goes completely overboard. It sees something, an antigen, as a threat and launches such a huge attack that it ends up damaging your own body in the process. Now, to make sense of all this chaos, scientists needed a way to organize these different kinds of overreactions. You can think of it like creating different profiles for all the rogue soldiers in that internal army of yours. And what they came up with is actually a pretty brilliant system. They classify all of this into 4 distinct types. Each type is defined by how the damage is actually done, and maybe more importantly, how quickly it happens. Understanding these 4 types, that's the key to this whole thing. So let's kick things off with the one most of us are probably familiar with, type I. This is your classic immediate allergic reaction. This is the fast one. We're talking about that reaction you get almost instantly after you come into contact with something your body has decided is public enemy number 1. It could be pollen in the air, peanuts in a cookie, or a bee sting. So how does this actually work? Well, the main culprit here is a special kind of antibody called IgE. Think of these guys as tiny little tripwires. These tripwires are sitting all over certain immune cells. And when an allergen, like a grain of pollen, comes along and hits 2 of these tripwires at once, boom, the cell just explodes with a flood of chemicals, most famously histamine. And that is what gives you all those allergy symptoms. And the key word here, the most important word, is immediate. This isn't something that builds up over days. Nope. This reaction is unleashed within minutes of exposure. And this one single mechanism is behind a whole range of things, from the sniffles and runny nose of allergic rhinitis, that's hay fever, to the wheezing of asthma, and in the most extreme cases, that life-threatening whole body shutdown we call anaphylaxis. Okay, next up we've got types 2 and 3. Now, both of these are also driven by antibodies, but they create chaos in totally different ways. And this slide does a great job of breaking it down. For type 2, it's basically a case of mistaken identity. Antibodies grab onto the surface of one of our own cells by mistake, basically putting a kick me sign on it for the rest of the immune system. But with type 3, it's a bit more complicated. Here, antibodies bind to little bits floating around in your system, forming these clumps. And these clumps just drift around until they get stuck somewhere, like in your blood vessels or kidneys, and cause damage wherever they land. Some really powerful examples of type 2 in action, well, there's a blood transfusion reaction where your body attacks the wrong blood type. Or something called hemolytic disease of the newborn, where a mother's antibodies can actually cross the placenta and attack her baby's red blood cells. It's also the mechanism behind autoimmune diseases that target specific organs, like your thyroid gland. Now for type 3, the damage is all about those immune clumps getting stuck and kicking off this massive inflammatory party. This is the engine behind conditions like serum sickness. There's also a localized version called an Arthus reaction, and it's a huge part of the autoimmune disease systemic lupus erythematosus, or SLE for short. All right, finally, we get to our 4th category, and this one plays by a completely different set of rules. This is type 4, the delayed reaction. So what's the big difference here? With type 4, antibodies just aren't the main characters. The stars of this show are the immune cells themselves. And, like the name says, the reaction takes a lot longer to get going. Okay, let's unpack this. The whole response is driven by T cells. These T cells have been trained from a past encounter to recognize a specific threat. So when they see it again, they don't bother with antibodies. No, they go straight to releasing these powerful chemical messengers that call in reinforcements and basically start a slow-motion riot, creating inflammation and tissue damage over time. And just look at this timeline. We've gone from minutes in type 1 to a full 24 to 72 hours, that's 1 to 3 days, for this reaction to really hit its peak. It's a total slow burn. And I bet you've actually seen this in real life. You know that little bubble that forms on your arm after a TB test? That's a textbook, controlled type 4 reaction. And it's the same deal with that itchy red rash you might get from contact dermatitis, say after wearing a cheap necklace with nickel in it. That's your T cells, hard at work. Okay, so we have covered a lot of ground. Let's pull all of this together and really decode what it all means for our immune system. You can think of this next part as our final case file summary, a sort of cheat sheet for these 4 different ways our immune system can go haywire. This slide just lays it all out so perfectly. Let's do a super quick recap. Type I, your immediate allergy driven by IgE and histamine, happening in minutes, right? Type 2, that's when antibodies directly attack our own cells, causing damage over a few hours. Type 3, that's all about those floating immune clumps, causing problems over hours to days. And finally, type 4, the delayed reaction, driven by T cells, taking a full 1 to 3 days. From anaphylaxis to contact dermatitis, it all fits right into this one chart. And look, this is not just some academic exercise. Knowing which of these 4 patterns is at play is absolutely fundamental for doctors trying to diagnose and treat a huge range of diseases. Everything from a simple allergy to a really complex autoimmune disorder. So it's pretty clear our immune system walks this incredible tightrope between being our greatest protector and being a source of self-inflicted damage. It really leaves us with a fascinating question, right? As we get better and better at decoding these overreactions, what does the future of treating them, of calming them down and restoring that balance, what does that actually look like?